Well, good morning. Next, day 2. Did that add some energy? The last thing they told me when I was coming up here is they said, you need to add some energy. This is 8 a.m. I think you guys know this is 8 a.m., right? You are the hardy troopers. We had 990 people sign up. You are the committed. What that tells me is you're clearly winning in your space, right? You're here to win, you're committed. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm Paul Tepfenhart, and I lead our retail industry team for Google Cloud globally. Thrilled to be here with you today, but it's not going to be about me. It's going to be about what you can do with AI, and it's going to be brought to you by 2 fabulous guests that we're going to introduce in a minute. So let's set some context as we get started here first. World's getting tougher to win in retail, isn't it? Much more emphasis on, I want personal experiences. More emphasis on, it better be omni-channel, it better be stateful, I better be able to go to between devices and have the experiences that I want, and you better remember me and what I wanted. And here's the bad news. If you're not doing it, 90% of customers say, I'll move on. Not gonna hang around. Loyalty is a lot different in 2024 than it was prior. It's a race. And a big question on the table is, where are you in your journey? Where are you in your race, right? Personalization's a big part of it. It's an important part. And it really needs to bring together all the touch points that you interact with the consumer, because disjointed experiences, personalized or not, that don't make sense as I move between them. The marketing I get is different than what I see on the website, and then when I call the center, you don't know who I am. Those things are gone. Must move beyond it. Power of personalization is a cornerstone capability. Today we're going to talk about a lot of use cases. We're going to take a look at the value chain end to end, and we're going to talk about things you can be doing. But you know what? We have a relatively short period of time. In fact, I have a clock down here that's constantly telling me, hurry up. And we're going to start by looking at the range of possible AI ML solutions. Let's think about, what's that value chain look like? What could I be doing in marketing, right? Can I leverage AI to do things like create my next campaign? How about all the assets in the campaign? How about all the channels that I want to broadcast that campaign? Pretty powerful stuff, right? How about enriching my product catalog with all the data that is available out there so that those experiences you're having in your digital properties are much richer? It's easier to find it. You're leveraging search capabilities that are now smarter. Very, very powerful kinds of capabilities. But it doesn't end there. It moves all the way across to the operations side. And if I hit the right button, it moves. We're talking about what can you do inside the store with your employees, your associates. Things like, how can we be smarter about how we leverage our workforce? What activities that you're having them do? How about training them? How about having an app at their fingertips? Because you know what? When they go to do a task, the training you gave them 2 months ago doesn't matter. Lots of turnover in this business, right? How about customer support? It's both a fantastic experience for the consumer, and AI can also help you be much more cost effective. How about having your absolute best employee that works the call center available 24/7 for everybody that calls? This is the promise of AI. And to really unwrap the promise of AI, I want to welcome 2 fabulous panelists to come join me on stage. Ashley Daniels is the Vice President of Product Management for Best Buy, and Mario Ciabarra is the CEO and founder of Quantimetric. Let's hear it for them.
Think on over.
Go ahead. So with that, I'm going to ask them to tell you a little bit about themselves. Ashley, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, hi everybody, Ashley Daniels. That is a really big picture of my face. So nice to be here today. I lead product management for omnichannel and our people technology for Best Buy. I've been in retail for about 17 years, so I'm really excited to be here.
And thank you, Paul. Thank you, Ashley. It's great to be here with you. Mario Ciabarra, obviously. I think the best way to introduce myself is just a little bit of the journey. We're going to talk about data. We're going to talk about AI today. And I think one of the most shocking things that happened to me along this journey with data and AI is the realization about what the impact of data can have on our organization. And I'm going to save it a little bit for later, but I'll share with you the ideas of empathy and focusing on culture at winning the hearts of your customer. So how do you get a team to really focus on the most important part of your business, your customer, and to do it with data was a little bit of a shock to me, and I'm excited to share a little bit more about that in our discussion today.
Well, fabulous. Then let's jump right into the AI topic and say, you know what? What's your favorite transformative example? You know, what would you like to tell the audience about?
Yeah, I can jump in there. So you have heard a lot about chatbots this week, and we're doing that, and it's going to be amazing. The example I want to share with you, though, is some work that we have delivered over the course of the last few months that I think is really changing a space that we don't talk a lot about. So as you think about the contact center is at the heart of your business in retail. If you work in retail and you have not spent 8 hours in your contact center, I really encourage you to do so. I promise at the end of the day, you will know more about your business, you will know more about your company, you will know more about your customer, and you will know more about your tech. So do that. But if you think about that role, that's a really hard job.
It is a hard job.
And so if you think of kind of the nature of what we've asked those folks to do since the beginning of time is we have asked them to every 7 minutes, pick up a new call, listen to your customer, be taking notes and trying to summarize and process what the customer is talking about, and oh, by the way, navigate the technology to find and actually resolve the customer's issue all at once. And then when you're done, real quick, finish up those notes, hang up, and then do it again, over and over. And you're meeting customers at some of their most critical moments. And so what we've deployed, and we're just at the beginning, is the capability that we actually take that cognitive load off the employee and we summarize that contact for them. And so what you end up with is you end up with 100% of your contacts summarized in an unbiased way, which is incredibly valuable information. If you think about kind of how that shows up, you end up with an employee who's able to lead with empathy rather than trying to focus on multitasking. We have all been in the meeting where we know somebody is slacking someone off to the side, and you know they're not really focusing on you. So it's a really transforming how we show up, both from an employee, a customer, and a financial perspective. So it's been really cool. Go ahead.
Ashley, I love that example, and if you really want to get the unvarnished truth of what's going on in your business, go listen at the call center. There's no substitute. Not even reading the summaries does it justice. And it'll develop a big appreciation for the folks that serve you in that way. Mario, your thoughts?
Well, it's no surprise that we're here on stage together because we feel very passionately about the same topics. But before I jump into the work side of it, I'll tell you, you asked the question about favorite. Probably the most favorite. I'm a father of 3 children. And I don't know, for the parents in the room, you have discussions with your kids and you kind of like, I'm always trying to figure out, I'm trying to explain to my kids I'm right. I don't know if you guys can share that perspective as a parent, but I'm like, look, I'm right here. And they argue with me about who's right. And I'm like, just go ask your favorite chatbot. And then they're like, all right, Dad, you're right. And like, I cannot win them over, but when they go ask Generative AI the question and they're like, your dad is right, that's pretty transformative. So I dare you to go try it with your children. I literally say, any argument, let's go resolve it with a Generative AI solution. So. But back to work, you know, I absolutely agree. Like, you know, if you talk to folks that are actually creating generative AI and you ask them, where do you think generative AI is going to have an impact in the world in the near future? Because I think the long future, the art of possibility is real, and we've got a lot of great ideas. But if you look at where I think in the next 6 to 12 months we'll actually make a real impact into our work lives, I think actually captured it perfectly. How we listen to our customers. And I think generative AI will allow us to do it at greater scale and faster, and maybe the word more conveniently as well. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today, so I'll leave it for a little bit.
Consistently, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Mario, I think the audience is really interested. What's your batting average when your kids go confirm?
Oh, I think they'll tell you it's really high. It's really high. I don't profess like confidence in something unless I'm confident in it. And so when I'm like, look, I'm right, I'm confident. And I'm like, let's go.
Awesome.
So pretty high, I don't, it's not 100%, but you know.
So you're saying an extra 30 years of life experience adds value?
Who said 30?
It gives you an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's parents in the room, and you know, we know.
All right, well, it sounds like highly credible down at the end here. How's AI gonna reshape the customer journey? I'm kind of obsessed with what is the whole shopping journey and how is it gonna change AI? Gen AI is gonna come in here and that's kind of end to end from discovery all the way through to the after sales support. What are your thoughts on that, Mario? You wanna lead this one?
Yeah, we saw a really interesting use case. If you saw the keynote with Thomas yesterday, I was impressed. I hope all of you were as impressed as I was. I think that's awesome in the moment. I think where I really see a change is how do we get the brands to really understand, like you said, sit in the shoes of a call center agent, and I love it. And I even think another advice I'd give is sit in the shoes of your customer. And I know that sounds silly, but it's like maybe walking the halls of your physical stores and it's going online. I know one of my favorite CDOs I work with, he's on his website at 2 a.m. every day. And the reason I know is because his team tells me, and they get driven a little crazy, but he knows his brand. He knows what works and he knows what doesn't. My goal for this person is at 2 a.m. he's just going to sleep. You know, like that is my goal. And I feel like
sleep time.
Yeah, I feel like generative AI might actually give him the confidence that like your team knows. Like your team is on it, generative AI is helping them and assisting. What he also knows is that it's really hard. It's really hard to get this right all the time, and that's why he's on at 2 a.m. And I think generative AI is going to help us get our teams focused on what really matters to our customer. Yeah. Like walk in their shoes.
Love that. Ashley, your thoughts?
Yeah, I love the question. I love that it's about the journey. One of the things that when you start talking to people about AI, often they're talking about AI like it's a standalone thing. How are you going to use AI? What's AI going to do? And so I think one of the most critical things as we're all learning our way through this is going to be in really grounding how we use AI in the experience and in actual problems. As we think about that journey, there is not a piece of the journey that won't have AI in it at some degree over, call it the next 18, 24 months, right? But it's really going to be the people that are going to win, the companies that are going to win in this are going to be the ones that are stitching that experience together end to end, not delivering a bunch of random point solutions. And so I think that's going to be really a critical thing for us to keep in mind, especially when we're all running a million miles an hour and we're all learning. And so it's really easy when you're learning to just get laser focused on one thing, but we've really got to stitch it all together.
Yeah.
So.
I love that, and it's really thinking about AI and Gen AI as a platform, right? It's really hard to go chase whatever the latest exciting model might be in the universe. And you know what? As soon as you pick the one you want, there's going to be a new one in 90 days that you're going to want to go after. And not to get too Google pluggy, but that's one of the most amazing things about Vertex and really the strategy that Google's employing with the model garden underneath it. You have all the models and you can switch between them as your needs change, as your use cases grow, et cetera. That was all ad lib, so I promise not to do any more product pitches. I think it's a powerful point. Kind of getting back to the retail experience, lots of examples of how the work is changing. Ashley, you want to kick off and think about how that work is changing?
Yeah. For as long as I can remember, we've always said retail is detail. Has anybody else in the room heard that?
Oh yeah.
Kind of used to be like our rallying cry. What's interesting is AI does detail incredibly well. And so I think we're starting to see that really show up. And so if you think about kind of the hiring profile and how we've always thought about talent, a lot of the work has been about institutional knowledge, right? It's been about who can navigate the tech the best, who knows how to sell the best, who knows the products, all of those pieces. And so now what we've done is we've actually created a world in which we are unleashing, really, one of our values at Best Buy is unleashing the power of the people, and AI is really allowing us to do that, right? So it's taking away that barrier to entry of institutional expertise and creating a world in which we hire people first and foremost for customer empathy, for how they show up every single day with our customers, which I think is really meaningful. We just did some work recently. I talked about being really passionate about the contact center, and I talked about being grounded in the experience. So before we dove in and started delivering AI, before we said like, all right, here's the point solutions we want to do, we actually took a step back and said, how might this show up end to end in the experience for the customer and the employee? So we actually have a quick video to share. The full one's actually 4 minutes. We edited this one down, so you'll see a little choppy, a little clunky. You're going to get about half of it, but we thought it was important enough to share, so we'll do that now.
All right, let's roll it.
Imagine a world where 50 million customer contacts per year are no longer needed, and when they are, they're completely seamless. And instead of 18 separate groups of contact center agents, customers reach agents universally equipped to focus on empathy, guided by simple, intelligent tech. Let's explore that experience. Abby recently ordered a refrigerator and a dishwasher. Because the dishwasher was back-ordered, she scheduled 2 delivery dates. Behind the scenes, we automatically monitor her order, and her dishwasher arrives early. Because she's a Best Buy Total member, we proactively offer to combine her appointments to the earlier date. Blue, our intelligent support assistant, initiates the text conversation. When Abby sees the text a couple hours later, she's thrilled that she won't need to take a second day off of work, so she eagerly accepts. On the big day, she sees her delivery window tighten in real time on her phone's home screen. So we reach out once it's installed. Abby reaches back via text to ask for help switching to Pebble Ice. Blue replies with a link to a helpful visual guide in the Best Buy app, and also lets her know that because she's a Best Buy Total member, she has 24/7 access to our virtual Geek Squad assistant. While running out the door, she realizes her freezer basket is missing, so she decides to call from the car. She asks to speak with a human so she can ask whether she really needs it. As Blue transfers Abby, the agent automatically receives a summary of their conversation and contextual information they'll need to quickly help her. This is the future of support at Best Buy.
So what I think is really fun about that video and kind of the story that the team stitched together is that we've actually been going through a contact center transformation over the course of the last 2 years. And 2 years ago, the experiences that you saw in that video were not even things that we could imagine. And if we could imagine them, they were things that weren't feasible. And so that's another kind of piece of advice I'd give to folks that are on this journey is hold yourself accountable to taking a step back and thinking about what might be possible now. Because it's very different than what was possible. I saw a demo yesterday, and he said, this literally wasn't possible 2 months ago.
Yeah.
2 months ago. So as you think about kind of how nimble we need to be as we think through those experiences, the team is actively delivering against these experiences right now in a way that we would not have been able to 12 months ago. So it's a pretty cool moment in retail. I know Mario had some that he wanted to share as well, a demo of kind of how it might start to show up in his world as well.
Yeah, and it's on the same theme, the art of possibility. And I start off, thank you both. I start off with the concept of how many of you have seen a chart or a graph and have gotten excited about it? Okay, because you really? Okay, chart. Like, and maybe let me twist the question a little bit. Like, seeing a chart or graph about a customer's experience and, sorry, I'll move this. Got excited about a customer's experience and it made it move you. Like, I just don't think charts and graphs, like I think data is awesome, but you gotta use it in a way that compels people. So I thought I'd stick with the theme of Best Buy, and let me start off with Best Buy. We don't work with Best Buy. I'll say the words yet. I always would love to, but this is not Best Buy's deployment. I've just captured an experience of my own shopping on the Best Buy website. So what Quantum Metric does is we capture every experience on a website or an app and try to understand it to give our teams, our brand teams, empathy and understanding in a quantified way about what can we do to make it better. And it's really about listening to customers. And if you go into a physical store, you can observe a customer really easy. But on digital, it's really hard to see the customers. And that's why I was making fun of charts and graphs. Like, that's how we see customers. We see them in charts and graphs on digital. It's hard to empathize, except for a couple special people, with charts and graphs. So what we do with data, and I'll start with data, and I promise you I'll get to generative AI in a second, but what we do with data is make it come to life. So what I'm going to show you here, and many of you have probably seen things like this, but it's called a session replay. It's the ability to see a user going on a site. So what you're going to see here is me on the Best Buy website. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this link here, and I want to purchase this device, and I actually have an Xbox controller at home. And so it says, save when you trade in a similar device. I clicked on it, and I got this friction point of, sorry, we couldn't find any eligible devices that match the information you provided. That's not a bug. The website works great. There's just not a match. And it's a friction point. And what I want to show you is the art of possibility. Like, how can we use generative AI to help our teams listen at scale? So I'm going to show you one thing, within our app. I'll just go back a little bit. We're using Gemini Pro to watch this user's journey and understand exactly where the pain point is. So I'm going to click this little button we call it Felix AI. It's using, again, Gemini Pro behind the scenes. So we send our data to Gemini Pro, and it spits out a summary, jumps us exactly to where our friction point is, and it tells you what the problem is. I didn't have to watch, and our typical customers watch about a 15 to 20 minute video. It's not a great use of time. In fact, once we came up with this, we were like, well, how many hours of video did people watch last year? 320,000 hours on our platform. Now, it's awesome because the brands that we work with love their customer and they want to understand it fully and empathize with them, but 320,000 hours is crazy. What if we could click a button and summarize a 15-minute journey in 3 seconds? And a cooler thing is, you might want to ask about it is, okay, I see there's an issue. I wonder how many other people have the same experience. And using generative AI and Gemini Pro, we create this quantify button. And it ends up creating a segment of understanding, like, how many people had a spinner on the cart box, the cart checkout page. Understanding where the biggest friction point is. And more importantly, someone might, because we're talking about contact center, someone might actually call the call center. And usually today, when someone calls the call center, they say, hi, Mara, how are you? Well, I'm calling the call center. I'm usually not in the happiest of moods. Wouldn't it be amazing when I called in, and this is the art of possibility of generative AI, because we can summarize this information in a few seconds. Generative AI can write the script of, hey, thank you for calling Best Buy. It looks like you're trying to trade in a device, but you got an error message. Can I help you with this or something else? Imagine when you call in, I don't know how many of you have pressed the digits 1 through 9 on your keypad because you want to get to the right agent, right? You've done this before. I think the art of possibility, the future of customer experiences are, you're not pressing the 1 through 9. They already know why you're calling in. Oh, you're looking for that password reset? Thanks, Paul. But I just wanted to show off the art of possibility of generative AI. And I think you really hit the nail on the head. Actually, this wasn't possible a year ago. Like, we couldn't build the if-then-else statements of summarizing someone perfectly, where generative AI understands all of this data and summarizes it in exactly the format or shape that it will be consumed. That's all I have for a demo. So
Well, there's some challenges associated with implementing AI, right? We're up here talking about it as incredibly simple, incredibly fast, great value, but there's some things you ought to be aware of, right? How would you describe some of those challenges? Either of you, who wants to go first?
Yeah, happy to start. I think you guys both, you said win and then you said win, so I better talk about winning because we're in Vegas. I think there are going to be winners and losers in the implementations of generative AI, and what I've learned along the journey already in just the last few months is I think the winners are the ones that figure out how to get great data. Because I think there's been a data rush, right? Over the last 5 or 6 years, we've had AI, we've had big data, we've had data lakes and data swamps and lots of different data stories. I think generative AI, what I've learned along the journey is if you want to do this well, you better have the right data. And I think that folks that figure out what right data, I think it's not a prescription of here's what right data looks like. You've got to figure out for your use case, what is the right data? I'll extend it one more. And what I've learned very intimately with generative AI, and you probably even in your own exposure in folks things like Gemini, is it's sort of like it's a newer technology, and I look at it in my parenting role. It's kind of like a 3-year-old technology. It's like it can talk to me, it can work really well, but if you say, "How's your day?" blah 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 to your child, you know what your 3-year-old child responds with? Blah blah blah. If you just said, "How's your day?" they'll just say, "I'm having a great day, Dad." But if you kind of give it all this noise and jumble, it doesn't work well. So I think when you can have that clear, articulate conversation with generative AI with the right data, you get the right answers back. And that's one of the things that I've learned along the journey that I just want to share some of my learnings.
Great point, Mario. So often when we start talking about Gen AI in particular, the conversations start out like, wow, I want to do conversational commerce. I think it'd be really cool. I think it'll really improve my business. Gen AI is not a magic wand. It's not Harry Potter running around hitting stuff. It relies on the data that you're going to pull together so that it can really do a fantastic job on that base. So love the point, love the point. What do you think, Ashley?
Yeah, I love that you say 3-year-old. I always say 17-year-old when I'm talking about it.
More accurate.
But I think you get the same answer from a 17-year-old if you
True.
say, "How's your day?" "Fine." So, love it. Challenges, I mean, it has been just smooth sailing,
Yeah.
easy peasy.
Great, thank you, we're done.
Easy to implement, just run hard. No, we've definitely had a lot of learnings, and I think that's going to be a trend. Yeah. Even as we talk about winners and losers, I think the winners in this are going to be those who do run at it and who are really intentional. So I think you've got to be really intentional about what experiences you're prioritizing to start with, and really intentional about pausing and learning. Because if you continue to run down the wrong path, it's easy to get far down that wrong path. One of the learnings that we've had as we think about quick wins versus things that take a little bit longer, it's not just the data quality, but it's also, and maybe this is actually a component of the data quality, we found that structured data is a really easy place to start. And when I say easy, like it could be a sprint to deliver a really cool experience with structured data. And so if you're looking for a quick win, or you're looking to prove something out, or you're looking, as we think about adoption, everything we're talking about right now has to do with humans and operations, right? Adoption is a huge component of that. What we've learned is starting with that structured data is a great place. It doesn't mean we ignore the unstructured data. It means that is something that we work on in parallel, but that's more than a sprint, right? When it's unstructured data, we've got to learn more about it. We need to get the data to a place that it's highly usable for those experiences, because it's not incredibly reliable overnight. There's somebody on my team who we always jokingly say, like, "Oh, this was built by Ryan and a Red Bull." He's like the overnight builder, who I actually found out Mario is as well. Just super fun. But Ryan and a Red Bull probably isn't going to solve that unstructured data problem. We need to be a little bit more strategic and thoughtful about how we do that. But once we do, that actually gets us to where we want to get to in the long term, and is going to set a really solid foundation upon which we can build very quickly.
Yeah, actually, I saw some of your team laugh at the Red Bull joke, so I'm worried that they're actually just going to go buy a lot more Red Bull, and get Ryan to do some more.
Yeah, that's our capital allocation strategy.
Yeah, no,
it's
it
like
works.
A few $1,000s in Red Bull a year. It's perfect.
No, but your theme is perfect. It's spot on. It's exactly what I said, but better. And it's really, when I think about, like, I was talking to another gentleman yesterday, and he used the word clean data, and clean data, structured data. Like if you send an LLM, a generative AI model, a bunch of unstructured data, say, "Hey, figure this out." I mean, good luck. But if you're really smart and intentional about how you use that data, and that's the transition between unstructured and structured, if you figure out what parts of that data is important for the task that you're trying to solve, that's when magic comes to life.
I'd probably build on this a little bit. At the end of the day, one of the big mistakes I see is trying to chase too many use cases at one time, right? It's about being choiceful and repeat and repeat and repeat. I always say, you can do anything, but you can't do everything, at least not right now. And I think that's one of the areas. The other piece we haven't touched on that always comes to mind is we spend a lot of time talking about the tech. We talk about the models, and we talk about Vertex, and the human side is just as important. And as you're thinking about what it's doing in your organization, there's going to be fear, right? It's a new skill. I've got to pick up a new skill. How do we overcome that? How do we enroll the people that are going to be leveraging? Huge, huge space for us to think through, and any project plan that you've got ought to have an equal component of what I'm going to do from an organizational standpoint to win. Any builds on that, or?
Yeah, I'd mention, I'm reading the Elon Musk book, and everyone can have their own opinion of Elon, but he talked about, like, for his engineering team, he kept saying the word why. And I'll change it for this. I would just keep asking what. Like, we're going to go do transformation. Okay, what? And I agree with you, to the point of, like, give me something very, very specific. I think if you ask the word what, maybe 5 times in a row, like, what are you intentionally going to change? And when you get that specificity, now you've narrowed down the concept of what exact data that you need to go complete that task. And when you get that focus, that's how you get to success. If you want to boil the ocean, I wish you luck. It's not going to work. And so just be very specific about what you want to do. And I was talking with Ashley before, and she mentioned, and she said it early on stage today, but the word empathy. And I love it. Like, how do I get my team to empathize and listen to our customers at scale is what I heard that her mission is at Best Buy, and that is how you create success. And then take it a couple layers deeper, like, hey, how are we going to get our team to listen to our customers better? How are they going to empathize, and what are they going to empathize more with? And you keep going that what, and then you nail on a specific project, and you can figure out, okay, what data actually empowers that outcome with generative AI.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's such an interesting moment that we're in. And we don't talk enough about the humans often when we talk about AI. But as you think about this moment, imagine another time, I can't, in my lifetime, when we're asking the people that are building the Gen AI solutions to also adopt Gen AI. And some of them, by the way, are the people who aren't adopting it incredibly well, right? They're like, no, this is how I build my code. And so you think about, if even the folks that are building it, there's an adoption curve, I think it really is a moment for us to step back and think about, what are we offering up? What is that solution that we're offering up? I think often people think, like, if you build it, they will come. We've learned that that's not always the case. And sometimes it's because you're building the wrong it. And so one of the things that we've learned that's been really helpful to us is if you use the call center space, where we're moving really rapidly and we're delivering capabilities like weekly in this space. What we've done is we've created a lab team of agents. And that is a super team that is excited to work with us, and they know that they get to be the testers. And it means that they're going to lean in, and they're going to be just viciously honest sometimes. They tell us when our solutions suck. They also tell us when they're amazing, and it's really fun and gives the team, a lot of joy and energy to be able to see those moments. But that helps us to make sure that we're on the right path. I think right now, because things are moving so quickly, it's very tempting for companies to quick get something out there, and it might not be the thing that their users actually needed. It all goes back to that, like, being grounded in the problem and the experience. Yep. And taking the time.
Great product management, right?
Yes. That's taking the time to use those muscles that we've built over, the agile journey that we've all been on. Like, let's not forget those muscles in this really critical moment.
Yeah, huge point. We haven't talked much about operations. And I often think, what a fertile opportunity to really step change things. How can AI streamline things that we're doing in operations? A lot of the non-value added work, the repetitive kinds of things, or some of the things that we don't do particularly well, right? Here's a news flash. We don't always do a great job of keeping our stores in stock, having the right inventory levels in the right places. Demand forecasting, depending on where you work, is part science, part art, right? And even in the supply chain and logistics world. So tell me about the operations side of the house. Any thoughts come to mind on how AI can touch that?
Yeah, I think one of the things as we think about how we show up from an operations standpoint is going to be being willing to take on the boring problem. Because there are areas
It happens over and over and over again,
yeah,
right?
Yes, exactly. So one of the spaces that we're doing a huge transformation in right now is our home delivery space. So you think about, and people don't think about this very often, really, right? It's one of those things that the stuff comes to my house. But if you think about kind of the day-to-day operations of delivering large products to a customer's home, there's a lot that goes into that. So if a driver has 15 deliveries today, what window did we promise to the customer? Where do those customers all live? Where is the inventory? Is the inventory going to be on time? Where do I need to pick that up? How do I actually route the best of our ability? How long is it going to take at each customer's home? How long is each stop in the route going to take? And can I continue? You saw in the video, we talked about tightening that window. Can I continue to tighten that window for the customer in a meaningful way? And so you think about some of these things not possible a year ago, that now all of those things that I just mentioned are incredibly solvable. And so it may not be, the sexiest place that people think about, like, gosh, that's the place I want to go reinvest and I want to go reinvent that experience. But you think it's just ripe with opportunity right now. And I think that's going to be true kind of end-to-end operations is a moment for us to step back and ask ourselves, are we actually doing this in the most effective way given what we can do now?
Yeah, no, 100%. Any builds, Mario?
Yeah, I mean, I think we saw, in the Best Buy video that you showed, operational efficiency with AI coming to life. But I think about a little bit around the death by 1,000 cuts, because I know every brand in the room, if there's something really wrong with digital, for example, like you're aware of it. Like it's a 5-alarm fire. But the death by 1,000 cuts is where pain happens. And I think a little bit about, for example, inventory management. Like if I want to buy a console, but the controller's not available, like how does that stock affect my business and my customer's journey on our website? It's really hard to look at each one of those individually. But in powering that analysis with generative AI, okay, great. This is our number one product that we really need to get back in stock because it's causing the biggest impact to our business and our customer journey. We worked with a brand that did same-day delivery, and it is not easy. It's not like you just create the tech and it all of a sudden works. And it's the death by 1,000 cuts that, understanding that this one store is misconfigured. And like what we discovered was the hottest product that was outselling in every store wasn't in this one store. And then looking at that death by 1,000 cut, understanding, oh, it's because it's misconfigured at that store. Like that store should have better sales, but it's not. And so it's like, how do I understand all of these journeys? Because there's millions on our digital properties every day. How do I get that scale of empathy into each customer's journey? And I think that's the impact around operational efficiency we'll see is like, I do care about my brand. I care about each customer. It's just really hard to listen to all of them when there's millions of them on our digital property today. How can I empower my team to listen to all of them?
Yeah, great point. We're running a little short on time, so I want to get some guidance out of you two, having been through the part of the journey and made incredible progress. So as I think about going forward, do you have any words of wisdom to impart really how to get started in this space?
Yeah, it's super simple. Like we sort of talked a lot about the highlights, about getting the right data, getting the very specific use cases, getting the organization understanding about what are we going to impact and what are we going to change. So I think it starts with data. Like the winners really are about the right data. And Paul, I think you said it beautifully earlier. What we could do today wasn't possible a year ago. And you said 2 months ago. I would tell you on Sunday, a new use case came to life for us with Gemini Pro 1.5. On 1.0, we couldn't solve the problem that we were trying to solve. On 1.5, we can. And so the pace of change that's happening in this space is faster. And I'm a geek. I'm not in the geek squad, but I'm a geek. I'm a tech geek, and I love technology. And I've never, over the history of my career, have seen technology change so fast. So whatever the art of possibility is today, it will be different tomorrow. And just be very aware of that, because if you hedge on like, oh, this is going to be transformative, and you haven't thought about all the pieces, like things might change tomorrow that change some of your assumptions and how you go at it. So be very nimble, be very quick to change, because for us, it's changing on a monthly, I'm a little scared to say daily or weekly, but definitely monthly basis. What we can and can't do is changing so quickly. So just be very aware. I've never read, like, not tech blogs, but I've never been trying to stay on top of the technology so much as I am this one. It's really changing daily.
First, thank you for the clarification on not Geek Squad. That is trademarked, so appreciate that. But I think, I've shared a lot of thoughts. We've learned so much, I would say, over the last 6 months. So we think about how quickly we have learned. I can't think of another time where we've been learning faster. My first piece of advice would be to stay really grounded in ways of working and who you are as a team, in your customer. Don't lose yourself in the rush to get something out there. Really lean into the experience. Be really thoughtful and intentional about where and how you want to be spending your time and your resources on bringing this to life. Slow down enough to actually have the dialogue about what's working and what's not working. I think that's really important. Make sure that you're bringing your partners along that journey. So whoever that end user is, bring them along the journey. Keep in mind that this will be some of the biggest change that they will experience potentially in their lifetime. As you think about, for customers, the way they shop is going to change dramatically, and for employees, the way that they work is going to change dramatically. So coming at that with a lot of empathy and thoughtfulness, I think, is just going to be really critical. And then obviously there's the foundational pieces of spending the time to get your team smart about the data, being intentional and thoughtful about what data you need and how it's structured and where it is, and do we need to be capturing it differently. That's just foundational. But I think if you really invest in that foundation, to your point about how quickly things are evolving, Mario had like a humble brag that he didn't do on stage, that he said, I built a new Gen AI solution on the plane. I said, as one does. But that's, if you think about it, you build that really solid foundation, and you're going to be able to do really incredible things very quickly, but take the time to invest in that foundation and do it right. Or you might find yourself with a bunch of random point solutions that don't stitch together in a meaningful way for your customer or your employee.
And you said something earlier I just wanted to add. We talked about it, and I feel like we missed an important point that I know that you agreed to. It was important, which is, like, we're going to see generative AI use cases come to life internally as a partner to a human. And I think you use the word human on this. It's, I don't think that we're going to see a lot of these generative AI use cases customer facing on day zero. Because there's like a lack of deterministic output. You generate a response and you'll get 50 different responses with 50 different clicks. And that's not necessarily what we want to expose to our customer today. And I think we're going to go on a journey. I think that's going to evolve with us, and maybe deterministic responses will happen as we evolve. Like, I can get a deterministic answer when I ask a very simple question, like, should I route this call to a call center for password reset or for account management, bill payment, et cetera? Like, those are really easy, but when I ask it to generate a response, it's not very deterministic. So that's not something I want to put in front of a customer today. I think having this work with a human is how we're going to create success today. And I know that's something that we talked about earlier, so I just wanted to mention, like, when you start narrowing down where you want to apply Gen AI, I think having it internal facing and how you empower delivering for your customer, great. But internal facing, I think, is where we're going to see the biggest use cases explode in the next 12 months. And we'll see what happens after, as generative AI keeps getting this massive acceleration. But I think internal is the win.
What I'd tell you is Gen AI doesn't rework your strategy. As a company, you have a very clear strategy and you have a very clear equity. What do you want to be known for? Where do you want to differentiate? Where do you want to distinguish yourself? It may be customer service. It may be in operational excellence. Doesn't matter. That's your strategy, and that applies to Gen AI. So take a look at your use cases that really accelerate your strategy. And then you start looking at, do I have the data to be successful to do this? And if not, let's enrich that. And the third piece, we're all in retail, make sure you got a business case. If we go slay the dragon, does it pay out, and was it worth the squeeze, right? And that approach is going to yield several use cases, some internally facing, some externally facing, depending on your business and your equity. And I really encourage you to get started, because as we began this session, it's a race. And the one way to lose the race is not run. I'm also not saying you have to jump into the deep end and do a double flip. Get started, figure out what you need to do it in, and find a partner that can grow with you as you go. Those would be my parting shots. Unfortunately, it's a little bit past time, so I've got to keep moving before they come hook us off the stage. But I do have a QR code up there if you'd like to learn some more or get some special offers to help you implement if you like some of the things you heard. And if you have other ideas, this is still a great place to start. So scan the QR code, and I'm leaving it up there for a minute in case you want to grab it. I see a couple of people. You're not taking a picture of me, are you? Just kidding. And don't forget, love your feedback, so grab the app, write a quick review. Thanks so much for coming. You've been fabulous.
Thanks, everyone.
And also, let's thank the guests. What a great job. Ashley, Mario, Quantum Metric, Best Buy.